So it's two-way action. Joe Cassidy on a charade here. Pete playing this very slowly.
Off to the turn we go. Well, the queen of diamonds comes up.
Doesn't help Cassidy.
Well, that's not going to be a big scare card for Pete either, because it doesn't make the straight and doesn't make a flush. Just in case Joe is on a draw.
Oh, it's party time right now for Pete Lawson. Can he get his sucker on his right to bite?
Well, what Joe's thinking about here right now is, look, I bet on the flop the guy didn't raise me. Maybe if I make a better bet, I can take this pot away from him. I'm going to try it. 60,000.
Yep. The jock at the table, Pete Lawson. Arms pumped up. Heart's got to be beating at 1,000 miles a minute.
Well, he's only got about 150,000 left. Cost him 60,000 to call.
87,000.
Ooh.
Yep, he's going to raise it all in right here, and I don't blame him at all. And that is a bet that Joe Cassidy did not want to hear, Vince. You know that.
Oh, it is down to saving face time. If you're Joe Cassidy, you're just saying, foiled.
Well, remember, Joe hit the gut shot straight earlier to win a pot, but it was different then, Vince. He initiated the action. He moved all in and then got lucky and hit the card. Total different scenario now when you have to call an all-in bet trying to hit a gut shot straight.
By Pete Lawson going all in, it gives Joe Cassidy no opportunity to even bluff on the end.
Well, Joe, certainly a very smart poker player, knows he's only getting about 5-to-1 odds on his money. It's not enough to justify calling. Joe knows it. He wisely lays his hand down.
So with that, Pete Lawson shows how to play aces very cleverly. Didn't over-raise it, just called it on the turn. But look at this, Thomas Keller right now is going to turn up the showdown card. He wants to see the hand.
2 kings. This ain't going to be that surprising. 2 queens.
And yes, he sees the aces. He's got to be feeling good about that.
I'm a donkey. You had the best hand? Yeah.
Pete Lawson's got to be feeling good.
He sure is feeling good, Vince, and he should. He is now the chip leader.
These young guns are very impressive here tonight. Don't forget, they're playing for the pride and prestige of being the best young gun in poker, but also that WPT guaranteed seat at Bellagio, and that's potentially worth millions.
The last showdown.
Actions on John D'Agostino.
Doesn't matter. I'm raising this hand anyway. No, I'm not.
He folds a 10-7. David Williams looks down at a wired pair of 5s.
Yep, he's got the speed limit. Let's see how he's going to play him. Remember, he's on the short stack here. Doesn't have that much money. Only got about 90,000.
Someone's not very good at math.
You get a small pair like this, you don't really have enough to raise before the flop and then bet on the flop and the turn when you're on the short stack.
Well, that's what he's thinking. If I raise this, do I have enough to get everyone out if I want to take these blinds down?
Well, the blinds are only 8 and 16,000. He's got about 90, so yes, he would have enough to get him out, I think.
Definitely. Smallest.
And he's going to do it.
Yep, he's pulled the trigger for all his chips. I like this bet, Vince.
And Thomas Keller quickly folds an ace-4 spades. Joe Cassidy out with a pair of deuces.
40,
and now
50,
it is on
65,
Scott Fishman.
Well,
73.
he's got an ace-queen, and he says to David, how much is it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, obviously, looks like Scott's intending to call here, and I don't blame him. Even if he plays this pot and loses it, he will not be broke.
Oh, he wants to participate, and he does.
Now, notice what he did here, Vince. He moved all his chips in here. He's trying to shut out the big blind.
Well,
he
right.
wants to get heads up in this pot against David.
Pete looks at a miserable little 7-6 offsuit. Cannot play, so we have two-way action.
Well, David Williams' tournament life on the line right now. He's got 2 5s. Scott Fishman with the ace-queen. Who's going to win this race? Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more exciting action from the young guns of poker in just a moment.
Welcome back to the Young Guns of Poker. We're watching the $4 million kid David Williams sweat out his pair of 5s against ace-queen.
Well, you're right, Vince. His life is on the line. He must win this pot to stay alive. Can the 2 5s hold up? Here comes a flop. Oh. Flop comes queen 8-5.
Tremendous.
All diamonds. David has flopped a set, as we say. He's got 3
And
5s.
Scott Fishman doesn't have a diamond, but he does have a pair of queens. He would have to catch runner to catch David Williams at this point. Here comes the turn.
Well, there's one of them, Vince.
Yeah, he caught one of them.
He has made 3 queens. But David Williams has a full house. He has the best hand, fives full of queens. Scott Fishman must catch an ace, a queen, or an 8 if he wants to win this pot and knock David Williams out.
It's like Josh at the World Series, where he had ace-king, and ace came on the turn. Everybody went.
And there's Scott's mom in there.
She is suffering here, Vince. Well, he has a chance to win the pot. He can catch an ace, queen, or an 8.
This is steam bath time for both gentlemen, especially David Williams. River card coming up.
8 of spades.
Oh,
It's a queen.
has come up. And for the second time at this final table, David Williams has flopped a set. The first time he lost to a gut shot straight. This time he lost to 2 runners and 4 queens. Unbelievable bad luck for David Williams here at this final table. Wow.
God, that's sick. Wow. Now that's a suck out. That's a suck out right there, baby.
The great David Williams, the $4 million kid, down like the Titanic.
Wow.
That's what it takes to get busted out at this table.
You're actually our 6th place finisher, but who do you put to win the tournament at this point?
It's pretty much anyone's game. Scott Fishman now has a ton of chips, but Joe Cassidy also has a lot of chips because he just won a big hand against John. And Joe's playing good, so right now I'd have to take Joe Cassidy.
Well, there you see David Williams, a class act. This wasn't his day today.
Nice young man, and a very rich young man, too, I may say.
Yes, he is indeed. All right. Action is going to be on Joe Cassidy here. He looks down at 8-7 of diamonds, suited connectors, as we say.
Very tempting hand.
He calls. He limps in first position.
Scott Fishman quickly folding.
Pete folds.
Now it's around to John D'Agostino in the little blind. He's got king deuce of hearts.
Well, he's going to call, hoping to catch something on the flop.
And now Thomas Keller, he's got a little wide pair of threes, but he's going to play it cautious.
Yep, he's checking here. He's going to hope to make 3 of a kind, then go to war.
Kind of interesting. He does not play maniac poker, at least so far in this tournament.
You're right about that. All right, here comes a flop. Ace 10 deuce with 2 spades. D'Agostino checks bottom pair.
That didn't help Keller.
He checks the 2 threes. And Joe checks the 8-7 of diamonds. So here we go to the turn. With the jack of diamonds comes on the turn. This gives Joe Cassidy a straight flush draw. D'Agostino checks the bottom pair. Thomas checks the 2 threes. But with a drawing hand, we see Joe Cassidy making a semi-bluff here.
And quickly, John D'Agostino folding. Only one more man to beat.
And Thomas is going to fold. So that play was what we call a semi-bluff. It means you make the bet to try to pick up the pot right there. But if your opponents call you, you have outs to win the pot. In that case, Joe was drawing at a straight and a flush. A very nice bet by Joe Cassidy right there to pick up that pot. And notice the wonder cam, Vince.
We're going to show the last card. It's a 5 of spades. So Cassidy would not have hit his hand.
And Vince, one thing we're learning about Joe here today, the guy's got a lot of thievery in him.
Joe Cassidy knows his poker. You can bet on it.
All in. Wow.
Joe has quickly called this.
He always has a game face on when
So much about poker is mathematical and determining what the odds are of a certain thing happening.
4,000.
So you want to try and win as many pots as possible with the worst hand and always win, of course, as many pots as possible when you have the best hand.
These guys.
And again, it's time for the blinds and antes to go up. We're now playing with a $3,000 ante. Blinds are 12 and 24,000. Yep, it's getting hefty now. And D'Agostino on the short stack here with just a little over 100,000. Looks down at a queen jack. Well, it costs you over 50,000 now to play around every 5 hands. So they're going to have to get in there and mix it up. And D'Agostino is doing that. He's moving all in. Got to make something happen. Going to be in the big blind next. Why not go for it all now?
Now it's into the thunder, man. Thomas Keller. He's got ace-9.
Well, what he's wondering is John just desperate on the short stack and going all in? Is indeed my ace high better than his hand? It is better, but he lays it down.
Now it's on the Cassidy kid, and look at this.
Oh.
He's picked up the Moby Dick of poker hands, pair of kings.
He looks at the players on his left. He could re-raise here and try to shut them out, but maybe he wants them in there with 2 kings.
So he's just going to call this.
Scott looks down at 2 4s. He's not falling for this trap. He gets out of the way.
Now it's on Pete Lawson. He's got a queen 5 of diamonds. He's got a little money in the pot.
Well, he's going to get out of the way also.
Tens, I hope. God, I'm in bad shape.
Oh, surprise, surprise.
Well, he says, I'm in bad shape. No truer words were ever spoken. He is going upstream right now, and it is a fast current.
If he doesn't have a miracle here, it is back to the donut shop for John D'Agostino.
Well, we've already seen some huge outdraws here at this final table.
I think I'm in bad shape again, ladies and gentlemen.
Can D'Agostino get extremely lucky? If he does, he'll stay alive. If not, he'll be out in 5th place. Here's a flop. Well, it comes Jack 5 deuce. That's one piece of the puzzle.
Not bad so far.
He's caught the jack. He needs a queen or a jack now to take the lead.
D'Agostino, 22 years old, lives out of his suitcase, a future superstar. Can he hang on and outdraw Joe Cassidy here?
And he needs a queen or a jack to do it. Let's see if he'll catch one.
Yeah.
You just need running quads.
Oh, an ace comes on the turn.
Not good for John.
I need help.
If I just call.
Right now, John D'Agostino must catch a queen or a jack to stay alive in the Young Guns of Poker.
All it comes down to this card for John D'Agostino.
Everyone else is sucking out. Come on, one time.
Here we go. No.
Nope, doesn't do it. An 8 comes off at the river. So that's going to do it for J-Dog.
I've never realized how much I hate Joe Cassidy, by the way.
The youngest player at the table, 22 years old, John D'Agostino, showing us great poker this evening.
Yeah, Vince, he's going to have to head back to the donut shop. He got glazed here today in the Young Guns of Poker.
So what happened in the last hand for you?
I blew off a lot of my chips earlier. I played a hand really bad, and the blinds were getting really big. So first decent hand I picked up, I just moved in.
Well, I guess you play your cards the way you can, right?
Yeah, that's about it. Maybe next time I'll do better.
Oh boy, well, another young gun bites the dust while another gets one step closer to victory. More action to come when WPT's Young Guns of Poker continues right after this.
Joe Cassidy is one of the really good young players in the game today. He seems to have an emotional maturity at the table, quietness about him, which, of course, I have an affinity for. And he's just very solid, and when he puts chips in the pot, people pay attention.
Played tennis, baseball, soccer, I snowboarded. The difference between poker and all the other sports is that you can eat while playing poker.
Welcome back to this WPT special, the Young Guns of Poker. We are down to 4 sharpshooters, Vince.
Whoa.
Who's going to take the title? Right now, the chip leader is Pete Lawson from Utah. He has about 500,000 in chips. In second place, Joe Cassidy from Southern California has about 480,000. Scott Fishman from Las Vegas, slightly less than 300,000. And on the short stack right now, Thomas Keller of Arizona with about 230,000.
Young poker savants going at it here at Bellagio. Scott Fishman first to act, throws away a 6 deuce.
And Pete Lawson on the button here, looks down at Kojak. He's got King Jack. It's a pretty good hand in a 4-handed game, especially when you're in position on the button. Let's see how Pete plays it.
Former personal trainer. True jock.
Well, he's just going to limp in. He's going to call on the button with the King Jack.
Into Thomas Keller. Got an unimpressive 10-7 in his hand.
Well, he's in the small blind. He's going to limp in.
And that's going to swing us around to Joe Cassidy.
Now, Joe looks down at ace-4. And he's also seen both his opponents limp in. Probably suspects the ace high is good. He's going to raise it. Boy, I like this play by Joe.
Well, he's sensing weakness, and he is going up. $60,000 raise here.
Well, his instincts tell him the ace high is the best hand. Indeed, he's right about that. Now we're around to Pete Lawson. He didn't raise before the flop with King Jack. What's he going to do with it now? Well, he's going to call. That's what he's going to do with it.
He's going to see a flop. Thomas Keller quickly going out.
So we got two-way action here. Pete Lawson with King Jack. Joe Cassidy with ace-4. Here's the flop. 4-3-3. A good flop for Joe, and then he has a pair of 4s. He knows Pete is going to have an overpair, a big pair, to have the best hand right now. Seems unlikely to him because he didn't raise before the flop. and he didn't re-raise. When Joe bet, he leads out and bets 100,000.
Pete Lawson, nothing materializing on that flop. He's had enough. They show the showdown card.
Well, he wants to see it. So Joe shows him the ace-4. Pete's wondering right now, you know, I wonder what would happen if I'd have bet the 84,000 on the button. Would the guy call me with the ace-4 offsuit?
Well, with that, Mike, Joe Cassidy is going to become our new chip leader.
He is on target now, seemingly doing everything right at the moment.
Just phenomenal. And here we go again. Action's going to be on Thomas Keller. Playing like a missing person here tonight. Throws away his hand.
Around to Joe. Joe with ace high on the button in position, and he's going to raise it.
Why not? Ace-9 in his hand.
Makes it 55,000 to go.
But right behind him, Scott Fishman, who in the small blind has King-Jack offsuit.
Come on.
And he says all in.
He is going crazy on us here.
He has gone over the top for all his chips.
Pete goes out quickly.
This is the same hand Pete Lawson just had the previous deal. Remember, Pete didn't make this play with his King-Jack.
Over the top kamikaze play by Scott Fishman right now.
Well, I can tell you one thing. He has put Joe Cassidy to the test right here. What is Joe going to do now with his ace high?
Well, I'll tell you something. This is just a big move by Scott. I mean, you talk about player image at the table. He's been playing very solid, throwing a lot of hands away. This could be the perfect time to make this kind of move.
Now look at his face there, Vince. When you look at that, do you read strength or weakness?
I mean, how can you tell it? It's a cement pylon.
Well, that's what Joe Cassidy's got to try to figure out. And folks, his friends call him Sheriff Joe. That's because he likes to look people up and put the badge on them. Will he do so right here to Scott Fishman?
I don't know what to tell him if I call this one wrong.
What a tough call this would be for nearly $300,000 more.
Well, he would be a slight favorite to win this if he should call.
Oh, you can just sense he wants to do it, Vince.
How much is it total?
Can he pull the trigger?
Well, he's got the opportunity to break Scott Fishman. This is a destiny decision right now for Joe Cassidy.
Well, if he would make this call and lose this pot, he would still have chips left to play, but it would take a big chunk out of his stack. No doubt about that.
Oh, boy, he's got to lay it down.
And, Vince, in this situation, I think you can only salute Scott Fishman for making that bold all-in raise to earn that pot.
So we got two famous railbirds that used to be here, David and D'Agostino.
Who's going to be the next young gun that joins them in the stands? Stay tuned. We'll be right back on the World Poker Tour. Welcome back to the World Poker Tour. You're watching the best of young guns of poker shoot it out to determine who's going to capture this title, win a $25,000 entry into the WPT Championship, and have bragging rights for a lifetime.
David Williams and John D'Agostino on the side. We're down to these four.
Well, Thomas Keller catching nothing, throws his hand away.
Joe Cassidy with a 10 deuce, not interested.
Here's Scott Fishman in the small blind, looks at 7-5 offsuit. He's feeling good about that bluff he made the last hand. He's going to call here.
And now Pete Lawson looks down at a 5-3 offsuit.
Well, he checks. Doesn't take his option to raise, so we're going to have a flop.
Couple miserable starting hands. Here we go.
Well, flop is ace, king, king.
Big stuff came out.
Well, Scott checks.
Go ahead.
And they both check.
And Pete checks right behind him.
No shenanigans here. Here comes the turn.
And a 4 comes off on the turn. Scott checks. Now this gives Pete a wheel draw, and he's going to bet it, Vince.
Well, there's 3 diamonds out there. There's a pair. Neither play has any of that. But look at this. Scott is going to call.
Well, he's got no hand and no draw here, folks.
No.
He's just calling to try to steal this pot on the river. But now he's made 2 7s on the river.
Yeah.
So because he's made a little bit of a hand here, he's going to check. And Pete, who can only win this hand if he bets here, he's only got 5 high, remember.
What a strange hand this has been.
I can assure you if that 7 didn't come up, Scott Fishman was planning to bluff at this pot to try to take it away from Pete.
And Pete with absolutely nothing.
80.
Looks like he's going to be falling into this net.
Say 80. 80.
He's done it. He's bet 80,000.
Oh, boy, he has bet it.
And without hesitation, Scott beats him in the pot. He's going to call him with the 2 sevens, and he's going to win this pot.
Just made a great call right there.
Well, look at Pete's look on his face here. Says that man called me with 7 high on the turn. No hand and no draw.
So Scott Fishman, very impressive. Nice momentum for him. He's mixed his game up. He is changing gears. This kid can play.
When it comes to sitting at a poker table, Scott Fishman is right at home.
I love it. I couldn't live anywhere but Vegas. I mean, there's anything you want to do any hour of the day.
But even with 24-hour action, this hometown hero still spends a lot of time playing at home.
I play poker online downstairs nonstop when I'm home. Right where the kitchen table's supposed to be, that's where my big desk is. Oh, boom. I hit the queen against ace-king. Triple up. Really? Me and my friends hang out over here and just play forever. I mean, we all like to criticize each other, and then after, you know, we get in an argument, hey, you should have done this, and then we'll say, hey, well, let's go up to the poker room, and I'll take you on. The poker room here was a guest bedroom originally. There's a window in here, which we made sure that we covered just in case it's like 7 a.m. and the light starts coming in.
While Scott has the digs for a great home game, it's tournament poker that pays the bills.
I definitely prefer tournaments. I mean, the tournaments are lucrative for me. I love the fact that there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. I mean, it's like watching a movie. There's a climax. It's really consuming, and a lot of people have told me to be careful. I might get burnt out. There's highs and lows. It's like a roller coaster. I mean, if you can stay on the roller coaster without puking, then you'll be fine. My name's Scott Fishman. I'm 24 years old, and I love poker.
Well, as you can see, Scott Fishman lives, breathes, eats, sleeps poker 24 hours a day.
Top 2.
With that, Scott takes the lead. He has a close to 600,000. Right now, Thomas Keller getting whittled away like a toothpick down to 175.
Hell yeah, he was. That's the whole reason.
Action is going to be on Joe Cassidy.
This time he looks at 6 deuce of diamonds.
He folds.
Into Scott. He's got the ladies, a pair of queens wired up.
He's on a little roll right now, Vince. Gotta love it. Bet 60,000.
Pete quickly going out.
Thomas Keller looks down at queen 10 of clubs here. He's in the big blind.
Well, that's a $36,000 raise. Pretty good starting hand.
The Stanford graduate, the classical pianist. Is he going to play a tune here with this queen 10 of clubs, Vince?
Well, he's got some money in there. Yes, he wants action. He's called it. Watch his step here. He's in a bad place. 5 cards to come. Here's the flop.
Well, flop comes 9-7-3. Action is on Thomas.
I'm all in.
Oh, boy.
Well, Thomas Keller going all in. Scott quickly beating him in the pot.
I think. Nice hand.
Wrong timing for Mr. Keller. It seems like...
Well, you see Thunder laughing at himself for making that move. He was hoping his opponent had something like ace-jack and will lay it down if he moved in. Unfortunately for him, Scott Fishman has 2 queens.
Tens. I need to pull a Fishman.
Thunder Keller is drawing very thin at the moment. He's got to hit 2 runners to stay alive in this tournament.
Well, he has been patient all night waiting for hands. This time he saw an opportunity. It just so happens Scott Fishman has a whopper. Obviously has to call this down.
It could.
Well, we saw Scott Fishman catch 2 runners a minute ago against David Williams to stay alive. Can Thunder Keller catch 2 runners now to do it?
Anything can happen in Hold'em poker.
8 of clubs.
Here comes the turn.
Well, it's a deuce of spade. That's going to do it.
It's all over now.
There's no card Thomas Keller can catch to win this pot. Thomas Keller out of this tournament in 4th place. And Thomas, a great player. We're going to see him again out here on the World Poker Tour. He comes from an academic family, graduate of Stanford, tough player. He will be back at a final table on the World Poker Tour. You can bet on it.
You're right about that. And there he's talking to his wife.
Yeah, she's saying, did you really have to go all in with that queen 10 right there? And he's saying, no, honey, I shouldn't have done it.
All right, we are down to 3 at the Young Guns of Poker at Bellagio. Pete Lawson, Scott Fishman, and Joe Cassidy. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Bellagio, the World Poker Tour. Young guns battling. We are down to 3.
Who's going to win this shootout and take this title? Right now, the chip leader, Scott Fishman, with about $740,000. In second place, Joe Cassidy with a little over $500,000. And Pete Lawson has about $250,000.
And the antes and blinds have gone up. $5,000 ante with a $20,000 and $40,000 blind. And action's going to be on Pete here, 6-3 this time. Not going to play it.
Joe Cassidy in the small blind looks down at Jack 5.
The Motown hand.
He's going to call out of the small blind, and Scott Fishman looks down at the worst starting hand you can have, 7-deuce offsuit. But he gets a free flop here. He's going to take it. Oh, lightning in the jar for Scott Fishman. He's flopped a full house.
Just amazing. Now, look, Joe checks, and Scott is coming out, and he's going to bet this.
Well, Vince, I'm puzzled by this bet.
He just chased his victim away.
Why would you bet in that spot? How can you not check? Give your opponent a chance to catch a card or at least bluff at the pot.
Should have raised before the flop.
I have to agree. A major mistake there by Scott Fishman.
Well, you just can't put your opponent on a pair in that situation. He didn't raise before the flop. He checked on the flop.
Nevertheless, Scott Fishman's still out in front with close to $800,000 now.
Well, it just shows you he's catching cards right now. You got a 7-deuce offsuit, you flop a full house.
Joe Cassidy this time, 6-3. He goes out.
Well, Scott with a Jack 9 here. Reaching for a stack of chips to set Pete all in.
Pete Lawson with 10-9. And look at this. Pete Lawson's going to make the call.
He has called the bet with 10 high here, and he is up against it. Scott Fishman has Jack 9. Pete Lawson with 10-9.
I don't get this call by Pete Lawson.
No, be that bad.
Well,
I did not think
I don't get it either, Vince. I mean, I could see you betting your money with 10-9, but I can't see you calling all of it.
Well, these guys are gambling.
Well, let's see what happens. Nearly $500,000 in this pot.
5 cards to come. Anything can happen.
Well, flop comes Queen 8-7. Scott out front with a Jack high, but notice Pete has flopped an open-end straight draw.
Give him a second pair.
He's got possibilities here.
Oh, you don't have a pair. Oh, I think Jack.
Pete needs a 6 or a Jack right now to take the lead.
So the young man from Sandy, Utah,
Spade.
hanging in there by dental floss. Here comes the turn.
Well, the deuce of hearts comes off.
That's what I was looking for.
That's not going to help Pete Lawson.
Well, right now, he has an open-end straight draw. He must catch a 6 or a Jack to stay alive in the Young Guns of Poker. He knows he's a big underdog to do that.
And here comes the river.
Oh, sit back down, Pete.
He gets
it's a
it.
Jack. He has made a straight.
My turn to suck out. Woo! Sorry.
Wow.
Sorry, man.
We have seen some outdraws in this Young Guns of Poker, Vince, I got to tell you.
I mean, that play should be punished, not rewarded.
Oh, man.
Instead, he's right back in there.
Is he ever? He's got average chips with 3 players left.
This guy's on the bipolar ride.
Well, you see Scott Fishman trying to shake it off, but that is not a look of happiness on his
It
face.
was more live than that. I didn't know anything.
Oh, you could say that again, Pete.
Wow. What electricity we're seeing here on the Young Guns of Poker, and it's anybody's game from here out.
You're right. They all have about the same amount of chips.
They sure do.
Scott Fishman, still the chip leader, looks down at an 8-5.
Yeah, but just still slapping his face from that outdraw from that last pot.
Throws it away.
Well, Pete Lawson in the small blind now with 4-deuce offsuit.
Well, it only cost him another $20,000 to limp in.
Hey, look, if he can call $200,000 all in with 10 high, why not limp in the small blind with 4-deuce?
Into Joe Cassidy. Joe has a miserable-looking 9-deuce.
Yep, so he opts to check also. So here we go. Joe Cassidy with 9-deuce, Pete Lawson with 4-deuce. Here's the flop. And it comes 10, 8-deuce. Both players flop bottom pair.
Yes, they do.
Pete checks.
Joe Cassidy, of course, with the second card being better. That's the kicker card.
Well, he's going to lead out and bet his 2 deuces.
40,000.
And Pete's going to call him.
He's going to get stubborn.
Well, he doesn't know that Joe necessarily has him beat. He calls him with bottom pair. Here we go to the turn. A 3 comes off on the turn. Pete checks.
Helps neither player.
Now Joe, who bet on the flop. Will he fire another shell at the pot? No, he checks.
Pete Lawson in a precarious position.
Well, he's going to have to catch a 4.
Here we go.
Well, that 9 comes off at the river, giving Joe Cassidy 2 pair.
Just a beautiful card on the river.
9s and deuces.
It's on Pete first.
Yeah, what's he thinking about now, Vince?
Don't get into trouble here, Pete.
Well, he's got bottom pair.
Okay.
He's betting it all, Vince.
I call.
And without hesitation, Joe Cassidy calls him with the 2 pair.
Just a horrific time to try this bluff.
Well, it's going to be bye-bye, Pete. Just that quickly in the last 2 hands, Pete Lawson experiencing the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. He's out of here in 3rd place.
Oh, and the crowd absolutely stunned here.
Well, had Joe Cassidy not made 2 pair, of course, Pete's bet would have won the pot, but in my view, he overbet that pot, Vince.
Pete Lawson, our 3rd place finisher. Right now, he is dead man walking.
Yes, he is. The guy who finished 3rd in the Legends of Poker to the great Doyle Brunson going out in 3rd place here in the Young Guns of Poker.
You made 3rd place at Legends of Poker, 3rd place here. What are we going to finish next time?
2nd has to be, at least.
First!
At least. Redo that.
Scott, welcome back to Vegas for a very unique World Poker Tour event. Only 2 young guns left.
Yep, it's heads up at the OK Corral. Let's see who's going to be the last man standing. And out comes our own Shauna Hyatt leading the procession. Shauna's got the trophy, a set of World Poker Tour chips. And what are these security guards going to do with these guys, Vince?
I don't know, but it's kind of funny. You only see security guards in a casino if you're winning. Wow. If you're losing, you can't find these guys.
Gentlemen, before we can proceed, I need to make sure you guys are old enough to be gambling in our establishment. Can you provide some ID?
Look at this, Vince. He's not sure they're old enough to even be in Bellagio.
Oh, boy.
He says, show me your ID, man.
As far as I'm concerned, if you can grow a goatee, you're old enough.
Well, Vinny, even if they're not old enough, they got the fake IDs, so here they are. All right, there you have it. Security says okay.
You know, you can win $1 million, but that doesn't guarantee you respect. This is very exciting, but right now, we are about to see heads-up action. Young guns at work. Let's go to the table.
And by Joe Cassidy knocking out Pete Lawson on that last hand, he is now our chip leader.
Winner will get the bragging rights of being the best young gun in the world. Also a $25,000 seat at Bellagio at the championship. And here we go.
Well, Joe Cassidy looks down at 10-9 of diamonds. Remember, when you're playing heads up, the small blind is on the button, the big blind in front of the button.
Well, he likes his card. He's going to raise it 50 grand.
Yep, makes it 90,000 to go.
Scott Fishman fakes like he's going all in. He's got king 3 of hearts. Comes back to his senses, and he just calls it.
Well, had he moved in, he'd have probably won that pot, but he opts to call with the king 3 of hearts. So here we go. We're going to have a flop. It's 10-9 for Joe, king 3 for Scott. The flop comes ace 8-5. Scott checks.
Helps neither player, that flop.
Well, here comes Jesse James Cassidy.
He just doesn't care. He bets anyhow.
He bets 100,000 at the pot, and he wins it. It just shows you how important taking the initiative is. Being aggressive in no-limit poker is the key to success. Joe Cassidy knows it.
Well, Mike, let's talk about Scott Fishman for a second. Do you think he has enough loose in him to change gears at this point and compete?
Well, we've seen some aggressive bold bets by Scott Fishman today, so I'd say yes, he's got it in him. He can be aggressive as well. I don't know that he will be as aggressive as Joe Cassidy, but we're going to find out.
Well, right back into the action. Scott Fishman with the button looks down at an 8-6. Very marginal hand.
And he limps in. He just calls the big blind.
Joe Cassidy with 7-4, content to just call it as well.
So here we go. We're going to see a flop. Joe with 7-4. Scott with 8-6. Here's the flop. King 8-7.
Well, they both got a piece of that.
Yep. Joe Cassidy has flopped bottom pair. Scott Fishman middle pair. And Joe's going to lead out and bet $40,000 with bottom pair.
He is going to test Scott Fishman at this point.
Look at this, Vince. He's going for some heavy artillery here.
Oh, a maniac in the midst.
Well, he's raised at $200,000 with 2 8s. He just doesn't believe that Joe has a king in his hand because he didn't raise before the flop. Excellent judgment on his part here. A $200,000 bold bet, and I guess that eliminates any questions about whether he's aggressive enough to win this match.
Well, he changes gears very quickly.
Now, Joe Cassidy, nicknamed the sheriff by his friends because he likes to call people with anything and put the badge on them. What he's wondering now, are the 2 7s good?
Look at Scott Fishman, stoic, won't give any tells away.
Does Scott have a diamond draw? He's on a straight draw. Is he just pulling the move here? Joe Cassidy considering playing these 2 7s. That could lead to his downfall immediately.
Oh, he's got to lay it down, the right lay down.
He lays down the 2 7s, but give Scott Fishman credit there for bold, aggressive action there with middle pair.
We're watching young guns at work, and these 2 guys continue to battle. And the antes and blinds are going up. We're talking about a $10,000 ante, with the blinds being 30 and 60. Action's on Joe Cassidy.
Well, Joe has a 9 8.
I'm all in.
He says, I'm all in with
boy.
a 9 high here, folks. And Scott Fishman is now put to the test. He looks down at an ace-3 offsuit.
Just a tremendous power move by Joe Cassidy.
Well, what a decision Scott's got here. Is the ace high good? That's what he's wondering. Would Joe really bet that much money if he had a monster hand? On the other hand, at worst, Joe figures to have 2 middle cards, where Scott's only about a 3-2 favorite.
Well, this is really all about reading the other guy. Now, Scott started with about 600. On the other hand, even though he's suspicious, do we want to call? Possibly get broken, get knocked out of this event?
Well, he knows it's all on the line right here. This is it.
I call.
He's going to call it.
He has made a tremendous call.
Well, however it comes out, give him credit for making that call, Vince, for all his money. He is the favorite right now. That's all you can do in poker is get your money in when you're the favorite. Then you just have to pray to the poker gods that your hand holds up. If Joe Cassidy gets lucky and wins this pot, he'll be our champion. If not, the big chip leader will be Scott Fishman.
This isn't how I wanted to do it, but I'll take it if it comes. You know?
5 cards to come. Here we go.
Well, here's the flop. It's king, queen, deuce.
That's good for Scott. His ace high still out in front.
Joe Cassidy's going to have to catch an 8 or 9. If it comes Jack 10, Scott would have a higher straight, so that won't help him.
But if it is an 8 or 9, this would be it. Joe Cassidy would be our winner. He'd be our champion. Here we come with a turn.
I think they come 10 Jack, huh?
Well, it's a 5.
What a tremendous turn this could be for Scott Fishman.
Well, you see Scott's parents over there holding their breath.
These guys are locked into the steam bath right now. River card coming up. The title on the line.
It's a deuce. What a great call by Scott Fishman there for all his money. The ace high holds up. Scott Fishman, the new chip leader in the battle for the Young Guns of Poker Championship.
Oh, well, the hometown local here in Vegas turning this thing around. This is getting interesting. He is now the chip leader, Mike. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with the exciting conclusion here on the World Poker Tour.
I don't suggest anybody just saying, hey, let me quit my job and go play poker for a living. No. You don't go and be the executive chef of a Chinese restaurant and you've never cooked before. That sense of security, keeping your job, is always a good idea.
Welcome back to the World Poker Tour. Wow, this thing is just flip-flopped.
Unbelievable. You're right about that, Vince. Scott Fishman doubling up. He called with the ace high. His hand held up. He is now the chip leader.
It's all in this hand.
All right, let me see what I got.
Now, Joe is threatening that he's going to go all in this hand. It's on Scott first. He's got queen 5 of diamonds.
Well, he's going to try to end it right here, right now.
I'll look just as a formality.
Joe is going to call it with king 9.
Yep. Joe Cassidy has the best hand. So Scott Fishman will have to get lucky to outdraw him here if he wants to take the title right now.
Well, he's a little bit of a dog, but if it should come through, he would be our new champion.
Joe Cassidy holding his breath, knows he has to win this pot to stay alive. Will Scott Fishman shoot him down on this hand? He's going to have to outdraw him to do it. Here comes the flop. It's Jack 6-6. So far, so good for Joe. The king high, still the best hand.
Well, this could be a tremendous double up for this guy.
3 diamonds. How many diamonds do you need to make it 4?
It wouldn't be the first time you hit runner-runner.
Well, Scott Fishman needs to catch a queen, a 5, or 2 running diamonds here if he wants to take this title.
Here's the turn.
Well, a 7 comes on the turn, so Joe Cassidy will double up if he can dodge a queen or a 5 at the river.
If he doesn't, we'd have a champion. It would be Scott Fishman.
It's a deuce.
Yeah, it's not going to do it.
Well, it's not over yet, folks. Joe Cassidy back in action. He's doubled up.
Well, that could have been the end to this.
Well, nobody said it would be easy. And nobody knows that better than Scott Fishman right now.
Can never be that easy.
Yeah, there you go.
Just be that
Hey,
easy.
he's reading my mind.
Scott Fishman, former dealer. What a night for him tonight.
Well, action's going to be on Joe Cassidy here. He's got king deuce offsuit. He's going all in with the king high.
Pulled the ripcord. And this time, Scott Fishman having enough. He's not going to compete with 9-3.
Well, he had 9-3 offsuit. Didn't want to go for it there.
So this is a true battle of wits going on.
That means if I double him up, I'm losing again?
Well, we are witnessing quite a duel at Bellagio here to see who's going to win this shootout and become the Young Guns of Poker champion. Right now, Scott Fishman with the lead, but Joe Cassidy on the comeback trail.
And the action's going to be on Scott. He's got queen, jack, offsuit.
Yep, he's going to go all in with it.
I call.
But look at this. Quickly, Joe Cassidy calls him with the ace-queen.
It is showdown time.
Well, Joe is in a dominating position right now to double up and take well over a 3-1 chip lead in this contest.
This thing could flip-flop once again.
Ooh, I'm a big underdog now.
Everything on the line right now for Joe. Scott Fishman in deep trouble at the moment.
Here's our flop.
Well, flop comes 8-7-4.
That is good for Joe. He's out in front with the ace-queen.
Well, right now, Scott Fishman's going to have to catch a jack or a running 9-10 to win this pot.
Here we go with the turn.
Oh, it's a jack.
He got it.
Wow. Wow, that's so good.
Can you believe that card, Vince?
Just incredible. He hits his pair of jacks, but there is one card to come. Joe would need an ace.
Don't backstab me now.
Just a devastating card on the turn for Joe. You got to feel his pain here, Vince.
Well, he needs an ace on the river. Can he get it?
Come on.
There are 3 aces left in there.
There is 3 aces.
Scott Fishman, the hometown favorite.
He's got to dodge an ace. Can he do it?
He did
Yes,
it.
he does. A 9 comes off. Scott Fishman, our champion. But, Vince, you got to feel the pain for Joe Cassidy. Played super tonight. Just unfortunate luck for him to get outdrawn in that last hand
And look at
that
this.
badly.
Yeah, I agree. Scott Fishman over there with the family, hugs and kisses. It is party time for the Vegas Kid.
Now let's meet the champion, the last man standing in the Young Guns of Poker, Scott Fishman. Scott, tell us about this field and how you feel about this victory.
Well, everybody played great. There was obviously some bad beats, and I mean, it was exciting. I loved being here, and I'm happy to win, for sure.
And now, as a custom on the World Poker Tour, we're going to toast our champion with Michelob Amber Bock, the official beer of the World Poker Tour. And once again, thanks to all the young guns, these outstanding young poker players. But here's to our champion, Scott Fishman, the champion of the Young Guns of Poker. For Shauna Hyatt, Vince Van Patten, and everyone at the World Poker Tour, I'm Mike Sexton saying thanks for watching, and until next time, may all your cards be live and your pots be monsters.